Asus has been at the top of the networking game for the better part of the last decade, and their Asus ZenWiFi mesh system has been sent over so that we can give it the good old turbo tortoise test. Good afternoon, welcome back to Turbo Tortoise Tech. You can call me the Wookie, and in today's review I'm having a look at the Asus mesh Wi-Fi system, or the ZenWiFi mesh AC3000. AC3000 being the total capacity between the N and AC Wi-Fi specifications of the total bandwidth that this system can support. Now, their original attempt at doing this was called Lyra. It was a three-pack system in most cases, and it wasn't very good, to be honest. It was a little bit underwhelming, and compared to the normal Asus networking products that have won a Reader's Choice Award like 6 years in a row or something ridiculous over the last decade, it wasn't really up to par. But then I ran into a bit of an issue with an HTC Vive headset that I was busy trying to stream from my PC unsuccessfully with my little AC1200 unit that just didn't cut the mustard. It would connect and launch for about 3-4 seconds and then say not enough bandwidth or a connection had lost. So I called up my friends at Asus and said, hey, I know you guys have got some strong Wi-Fi. Is there anything you would like me to use? I can perhaps do a review simultaneously, and that's where we are now. And they sent over this unit, I picked up this unit from them, and well, it's actually really good. Compared to their previous generations of mesh systems, this worked incredibly well, I have to say. So one of these routers acts as the main base station where you connect your device to, and then the other sits as the mesh system. But before we get into the functionality of it, let's just talk about how the product looks as a standpoint. So there's really nice big air vents on both sides of the router and at the top, because these things can get quite warm. So there's really good ventilation in this, which makes me think its longevity is going to be pretty good as well. Then there is a full rubber base on this as well, so it won't slip and slide on the surface. I mean, I can even get the good old squeak coming from the rubber there. The WPS button and reset button are also on the bottom, along with the other information like the default Wi-Fi name and that sort of stuff. On the back, we find 3 LAN ports and 1 WAN per setup, and then they can broadcast to each other as a media bridge or in the mesh system. So the LAN ports on the one will work as LAN ports across the mesh system as well, which is pretty cool. And with that mesh system, I noticed almost no latency difference between being on either side of the mesh. Like literally a millisecond in difference on my speed tests. So I had a MacBook on the other side. I know a Mac, I know, but I had a MacBook on the other side of the house and tested that absolutely flawlessly, 18 milliseconds on my RAN 5G, which is pretty good, especially for RAN 5G, right? So the mesh system itself and the use of it, I have to say, is very good. It did stream to my headset. I created a whole gameplay video with it. I played literally until the camera actually stopped the recording at 30 minutes. So it was seamless. I got lost in the world long enough for the camera to run out of recording time, right? So there is that. But the thing that makes these special is not the way they look or even that portion of their functionality. It's how the software functions, because the amount of features that you get with something like this, which is a home-based indoor system, it lends itself into multiple areas, into enterprise as well. The USBs can be set up as sharing hubs, not just for printers, but for actual file and FTP systems as well. So you can have storage on both of these devices being shared to the cloud, being shared locally. They can, like I said, they can do printer sharing, and then it functions as a 3G, 4G backup. And they are USB 3. So it will get like maximum transfer. If you're looking at a normal spinning disk, they generally top out at about 120 megabytes per second, and the general gigabit LAN is also just on 120 megabits per second. So wirelessly at 3000 AC, this could even theoretically run SSDs. I don't have an external SSD to test with it, unfortunately, but I can tell you my throughput on the normal Wi-Fi was really good. I did some transfers to the one laptop that I'm busy reviewing at the moment as well on its 5 gigahertz, 80 megabytes per second, which was topping out that particular unit's Wi-Fi. Absolutely no problems, and very smooth throughput on that as well. Didn't see a lot of dips and stuff. If it did dip, it dipped by about 10 megabytes per second, which is and not much and not for very long. So it's like, as a Wi-Fi mesh system, it did incredibly well, and the distancing is actually quite accurate on this one. I think their 500 meters squared that they're quoting for this system is based on line of sight, but this house that what I'm testing here is about 280 meters squared, and the furthest part of the house, so I'm connecting one over here just behind me in my studio for servicing my area and then the studio area as well, and then I put one further along about halfway through the house, or I'd say a little over a third of the way through the house, and I was able to use it right on the other end of the house still. So if this is centrally, if one of them is placed on sort of 1/3 of your house and the other on the other third of your house, I could actually see it breaking about 400 meters squared through walls. And this is an old house. It was built in the 70s, and they double thick, like every wall pretty much. All of the outside walls are double brick, so they're very thick, very old, big old face bricks as well, so not like hollow core like these current ones. And cement and that sort of stuff does do a lot of reflecting. Fluorescent lights and that sort of stuff also interfere with Wi-Fi signal quite a lot. But yeah, just getting back to that software, you can do like literally anything with these things. I mean, some of the networking tools and stuff, and they are so advanced, they literally go right over my head. But the ones that are really good on these Asus products are the guest network setups. In this case, you can have like 9, I think in total, 3 or 6 on the 2.4, 3 on the 5 gigahertz, plus your main 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz networks. Those can have quality of service on them, so you can limit bandwidth. So people come over and they'll connect up their phones and destroy your Wi-Fi. You can stop them from doing that and keep them limited and behind some gates. The other thing that was really nice was how it managed the mesh system. They just sort of picked each other up across the gap, as it were. The instructions were quite clear. You need to keep them within about 3 meters of each other during setup so that they would connect. But as soon as they did, you can literally plug them in anywhere in the house and they just immediately sync up and start working. It does have a device list per device, so you can see which is on which mesh system. You can have different Wi-Fis on each mesh system. Like, the customization level of this product is absolutely fantastic, and I really do like the way it looks. I think that this sits really nicely just like on a table somewhere. It's sort of unassuming. If you didn't have the Asus logo on the bottom, no one would be any wiser that this was even an IT product. It just sort of looks like a nice little corner ornament. So I've got to say, comparative to their last edition, this is far superior to what it was. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit us up with a like and subscribe, and we will see you on the flip side.
There's nobody I'd rather choose. Let's take it slow.